Good afternoon, everyone. It's just about noon, so this is the official beginning of the closing event for the Maine Peace Walk this year. So welcome, everyone. And to get us focused and grounded and prepared for the depth of the work we're going to do in the next 2 hours, Deirdre is going to come. Deirdre Drennan. She's coming to sing us a song. Peace, 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 peace on earth. Peace, peace, peace throughout the universe.
But the first time I ever heard about Jeju, I should tell that story too. One of our board members, Sung-hee Che, in the Global Network, lives in Korea. She sent me an email saying they're having a protest on Jeju Island. I'd never heard of it before. She said, the destroyers Maine and Bath are going to come here. And I wrote her back and I said, I'll read your message today because we're having a christening protest at Bath Iron Works. That was the first time that I heard about Jeju and that I told the story of Jeju through Sung-hee's message. And so ever since then, I felt that we have a special relationship between us and Jeju, but more importantly, a special responsibility. Special responsibility. Because when you make friends in Jeju, when they've fed you and taken care of you and shared their song and dance with you and inspired your heart, you feel that responsibility in an even greater way. But when I leave Okinawa and Jeju, someone inevitably asks me this question: what are you going to do when you go home? What are you going to do? And how can I not carry that heavy weight of that question home with me? It's impossible. I have to carry it. And I have to ask you all to help carry it too.
Board of directors of an organization that has a really long name, but stick with me. Global Network Against Weapons and Nuclear Power in Space. Yes, the Pentagon is trying to militarize space as much as possible. But I recently, just 2 months ago, came from South Korea, and you know there's a crisis on the peninsula over there. It sounds, our corporate media really hypes up the issues over there. And really, the solutions are super easy. To get the U.S. to sign a peace treaty with North Korea, which it refuses to do. The solutions to these crises that we have around the world are really, really simple. It's just that the people who control this world don't listen to the people who actually are making the weapons, who are actually going to fight and die in these wars overseas. And that's why I became an anti-war activist, is because, you know, we need to get our voices heard around the world, because the path that we're on today, we can't continue too much longer on this path. So this Maine Peace Walk is so important. This is my first time to Maine. This is my first time to Bath. And so I've heard, yeah, thank you. It's great. It's a beautiful place. You have beautiful people here. And I've heard that you have a history of shipbuilding in this town. Well, just as an outsider, to let you know, Bath doesn't have that history anymore. You're known for making weapons, warships, Aegis destroyers, Zumwalts. That's what you're known for now. The Pentagon has come in and hijacked your culture and your history to build weapons to kill people like Joyokol on the other side of the planet that we never hear about. And this message of the Maine Peace Walk, conversion, community, and climate, is the most important message of the world today. So Bath and Maine can have a new message, and it could lead the way and set a new history, a new culture of creating sustainable technologies that doesn't destroy the environment, that doesn't kill people overseas. And we can actually create a peaceful world. Bath could be at the forefront of this. It's your choice. It's our choice. If we can listen to the people here who've been walking for the past week and a half, 2 weeks, to try to spread this message. We've been out in front of Bath Iron Works almost every day. We're not trying to attack the workers there. We know they don't have choices. It's one of the best paying jobs in the town, isn't it?
In the state.
In the state. Almost every district in this country has been hijacked by the Pentagon. So it's not just Bath. But you have the infrastructure, and you have the know-how, and the experience, and the knowledge to create a new history and culture that the whole world needs to have. So I hope that this message that the Maine Peace Walk brings, people can resonate with it and listen to it. And then we can create a new future that we really want to live in. Thank you, everybody.
I'm not sure if I introduced myself, did I? So my name is Mary Beth Sullivan. I live here in Bath. I'm a social worker. I travel 3 days a week down to Portland to work with people who are homeless down there with a wonderful agency that kind of has love at the heart of its mission. I would love to introduce you to Maureen Keogh Austinson. She's been in Maine for many, many years and has been a staunch advocate for the abolition of war, we could say.
So I'm Maureen, and this is my daughter Frances, and my husband George is back with the banner over there, and our son is away at college. But as a family, we've been participating in a disarmament vigil at Bath Iron Works. Actually, when I was pregnant with Frances, we started. So we started in December of 2000, and we vigiled. We vigil every Advent and every Lent because those are holy times, and to call into the holy times in our religion and in our world, the prayer for disarmament and the standing shoulder to shoulder and speaking truth to power to the administration of Bath Iron Works. When we vigil, we have a whole group of people who come, very different people. Some people only come once, some people come as often as they can. And at the end of the vigil, we stand in a circle and shoulder to shoulder, and we call in the people in the world, around the world, who have suffered at the hands of U.S. militarism, and the people around the world who have suffered because of their resistance to U.S. militarism. And we call them to help them strengthen, to ask their help in strengthening our presence at Bath Iron Works. And oftentimes when I'm a social worker myself, and when I'm really struggling with things that are going on, I call that circle from my heart, because that circle lives in our heart, and we can be in that circle whenever we need to in this world that doesn't really recognize disarmament and doesn't really recognize as love as what is the most important thing between human beings. So that circle is part of my heart and part of our hearts, and we invite you to be part of that circle. The next time we'll be there is the beginning of Advent, which is Saturday, December 2nd at 11:30. We meet right in front of the administration building at Bath Iron Works, and we'll be there up until the four Saturdays in December, and then we'll be back in Lent. Okay, and I'd like to introduce my daughter Frances, who wanted to add something.
Okay, so like my mom said, I've been going to this vigil since I was born, and something that has been brought to my attention lately, or through my whole life, is just that the United States spends all this money on war and on going around and being the police of the world and thinking they can go into other countries and try to solve their problems. But the problem is that we need to solve the problems within our own country before we can even, like, war, it doesn't need to exist, and we need to see that, and we need to spend the money that we have on solving the problems. We can't spend tax money or any money at all on building warships. We need to spend it on education and making our country and the people within our country that live in our country a better, like, have better lives and not live on the streets. And yeah.
Thank you. A poem in 4 parts. The commute provides plenty of time for radio news headlines. Sandwiched between unemployment rates and a new American Idol lies a story of U.S. drones, unmanned vehicles dropping bombs. Again, more dead in Swat Valley, bad guys, they say. Another 500,000 flee. Families flood into hastily erected camps run by overwhelmed aid workers. Overwhelmed workers focused on keeping the living alive. I want to know who died, the collateral damage. I want names, ages, photos. I want to see the photos of those whose death is paid for with our tax dollars. Let me know who was killed. Let me see what we paid for. Tell me their names. I want to know their names. The client is handsome, charming. Addiction has him living a risky life on the edge. His kids are on his mind. He aches to see them. His angst is palpable. We sit on the wall checking in, and his outrage blows open. He scorns newspapers reporting homeless woman dies in park. When I lose my home, do I lose my name? He asks. Jeannie was beautiful, kind, nurturing, accomplished. She had a goddamn master's degree. Why didn't they come here to us to learn how much she was loved, how important she was? She had a name. How could they leave out her name? The conundrum drives the ride home. Do we accept that we don't know the name of our sister who dies homeless in a park? That innocents are caught in the crosshairs of war? Do we really believe that we need to drop the bombs we pay our neighbors to make to protect our country, our Constitution, our freedom? To create something called Homeland Security? Meanwhile, a son's addiction finds no relief. A mother's illness goes untreated. A shelter overflows with hunger, unemployment, and crises that overwhelm. Shall we ask, who is secure in this land of the homeless? Conversion opens the door. We mourn the deaths. With the living, we listen deeply in quiet spaces. We embrace the stories in all their pain. We stand in that river of suffering and find strength. In awe, we see survival. Inspired, we dare indulge the dreams that beat swords to plowshares. For him, we will make hospice with clean sheets, a bathtub, a nurse's gentle touch. For her, we will build rehab with a gym, a garden, space to dance. For them, we will create soft circles that quiet haunting voices and supported homes that ease the stress. With them, we will build schools, clean energy, light rail, and bridges that connect our communities. We will pay living wages, provide full employment, build a 21st century way of life that disarms violence and protects each other and Mother Earth. And in faraway villages where bombs have wreaked havoc, our youth will travel to rebuild, and our ships will abandon weapons to carry nurses and doctors and open hearts. We will carry open hearts. Ken Jones now is going to come visit. Ken Jones is a lovely friend of ours who used to live in Portland, Maine, and now has made his way to Asheville, North Carolina. And he has a word or two about peace.
Mary Beth, so heartful. Thank you. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. This is my third time I've come up for the Peace Walk up here. I was able to come to just half of it. And speaking of heartful, it always is, and so much deep thanks to Bruce Gagnon for putting this on. Yep. So I want to tell you a little vignette, a little snapshot of part of the walk that happened, I was witness to as we walked up and down the streets of Bath. And it happened as we were to the north side on Washington Street, I think it was. We were standing there with our signage, and a man pulled up and rolled down the window, and he had a Navy cap on. He was working with the Navy. And he said in question form, do you know what the Navy does? And amongst our group were several veterans for peace. And so I just sat there, and we stood there and waited for the answer. And the answer is, we restrain evil. The Navy restrains evil. And I thought about that. I mean, I had a little response, and a couple other people had a little response about, well, you know, what about the evil the Navy perpetrates? But the more I thought about it, the more I thought, well, you know, he's telling us something about the nature of militarism in our country, maybe in every country, which resonated with me. My dad worked for the Army for 30 years, and I sort of understood a little bit about his connection, which was religious in nature. There was something about fighting evil, but it went even deeper than that. I mean, you see so many people whose Christianity seems to not be in conflict with militarism and war. And within the service, people believe that they're doing something that is good.
Good in a spiritual way, defending us against evil. And I want to reclaim that. I want to reclaim that spirituality, and I want to claim our work as peace activists. And I know that all of us, or most of us, or many of us understand our work as spiritual in nature. And the way we conceive of our work is nonviolence is the way that we go about our work. And not only nonviolence in resisting the evil that is perpetrated by our military, other militaries around the world, but nonviolence in terms of creating a better world, nonviolence in terms of not making war machines, nonviolence in terms of changing the economy from one so driven by war and defense contractors to one that sustains our earth, nonviolence towards our earth, nonviolence towards our brothers and sisters, whether they be Native Americans, African Americans, Latinos, Muslims, Palestinians, Syrians, our brothers and sisters around the world. And we have to understand that this is not just a strategic thing. It's not just sort of a practical thing. It is when we think about our survival on the planet, and when we think about the other people living here with us, we must think about our spirits, our interconnected spirits with our other human beings, other forms of life on the planet. And I'm thinking that people in the military who, like this man from the Navy, who is thinking that what he's doing is, you know, combating evil in a sort of spiritual way, that at some point, my hope and prayer is they will see a different form of spirituality. They will understand a little bit more about the nature of evil and stop what they are doing and what their colleagues in the military are doing, and help us all change the frame of mind and what we're doing in our country and around the world. Thank you so much.
Okay, so now it's our privilege to have Richard Clement here. He's the president of Veterans for Peace here in Maine. And so we'd just like a few words. There's some folks in this crowd right now who have no idea who Veterans for Peace in Maine are, Richard, so this is your chance. Thank you.
But anyway, yes, my name is Richard Clement. I live in Pittston, which is about 30 miles from here. Veterans of Peace started, conceived, formed here in Maine in 1985 in Auburn. So we had a humble beginning here in Maine, but now Veterans of Peace is located in all 50 states and some international chapters, and we do work all over the world. So if you don't know about us, you really should check us out and find out about us. Anyway, I have a few brochures. Actually, I only have 4 brochures here if anybody's interested, because I always carry some in my motorcycle or my truck. I always have some in case you meet somebody that wants a little bit more information. But we are veterans. We are associate members who follow our philosophy. We have associate members who are not veterans. So you hear about Veterans for Peace, don't be, well, I'm not a veteran, I can't join that organization. You can. We want you. We need you. We have a really good website at vfpmaine.org. Check us out there. We have links to the national organization. We have links to many things we've done in the past and National has done in the past. So check us out. Yeah, we always support our local chapter. We also support other people. We have a national convention. A few years ago, I was in Asheville. I rode my motorcycle to Asheville. That was great. Last year, San Diego last year?
This year was Chicago.
Chicago, right, San Diego before. We have a national convention around the country every year. When I joined Veterans of Peace in roughly 2004, we had a convention in Boston. So that's where I really became associated with Veterans of Peace. So, but we welcome all veterans. We welcome associate members who want to follow our philosophy on trying to abolish war in a peaceful way. So, yeah. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Richard. And as Ken pointed out, there are lots of people, there are other people here from other chapters. So I'd like everyone to meet a friend from Boston, Veterans for Peace, named Dan Luker. Dan, you want to come up and say a word?
Hi, everybody. I'm Dan Luker. I'm coordinator for Boston Chapter 9, the Smedley Butler Brigade. And I guess the first thing I'd like to do is just take a moment to acknowledge tribally whose land we're on right now and what Native American tribe once owned this land, and just ask for their blessings. I don't know if anybody knows the tribe, but I just feel compelled to say that. Okay, all right, thanks. So we came up to Maine here to support Maine Veterans for Peace, which they often support us, so we do work together. We came up to help protest the Maine Bathworks. Again, in no way do we want to take jobs away from anybody in Maine here. We just want to convert them to sustainable economy, because so much money is being spent on the military-industrial complex. It increases every year. At this point in time, we are spending 7 times, more than the next 7 countries combined on our military. And we cannot sustain that. The only way we can sustain that is to continue to have wars, to have 16-year wars in Afghanistan, Iraq, move it to Syria, Yemen, sell weapons so other countries can fight other countries. That's the only way we can sustain this economy if we keep doing what we're doing. At some point, we have to stop and say, we want to build windmills. We want to build transit. We want to create good jobs, good paying jobs that even pay more than the Bath Iron Works and are more prevalent than just the Bath Iron Works, to create things that will make this a better country. We want to take some of the military budget and put it in health care, to put it in education. There's lots we can do. But I do want to thank Bruce and the Maine chapter and everybody here for supporting the protests here and the Maine Peace Walk. It's wonderful. And for all that you've done for the Boston chapter also. Speaking of healthcare, I'd like to segue just for a moment into, we do have a problem as veterans right now. The veterans healthcare there's a big move to privatize it right now. Trump and the Koch brothers want very much parts of the $186 billion for veterans health care. They've created if you hear of Concerned Veterans of America, it's not a real group. It's, as we have a grassroots group, this is an AstroTurf group. It's a fake group. And so they're trying to present that as a real veterans group that want to privatize healthcare. 80% of veterans love the VA, do not want the VA privatized. 80%. That's VFW, American Legion. And there's big movements right now, just as there was to get rid of Obamacare and Medicaid and Medicare. There's a big movement just lately that started with this year's budget on privatizing the health care. So I just wanted to try to make you all aware of that. Thank you for having me here.
Yep. So Karen Weinberg is here. She's been a peace activist in Maine for many, many, many years, and it happens to be my housemate. So she's here to make an announcement.
Thank you. We have had this year 2 acts of civil disobedience at the Bath Iron Works, and now they're. I usually don't even need a mic. I'm from New York City, and I can talk really loud. One group is famously known as the Zumwalt 12. Are there any people here from the Zumwalt 12? And the Aegis 9 folks have participated in that action. Well, we're not giving up. We're going to do it again. And as of today, I think I have 44 people who have signed up to participate in the next act of civil disobedience. And I brought the usual yellow sheet of paper, a sign-up sheet for anybody here who thinks they might like to participate in the next action, which will be at the next christening. They haven't announced. They're really afraid. They know that we've got great numbers coming out, so they're not announcing it yet. But we will be there, and we do hope that maybe we can get to 50. Maybe we'll get to 60. Let's see how many people we can have at the next civil disobedience action at BIW. So thank you. You can come find me, and I'll sign your name, and I'll get you the information.
Dolphin that actually has a name. The dolphin's name is Maka, and Maka has accompanied us on many peace walks. All of this has been done by our artist friend Russell Ray, and so his inspiration comes next. Russell?
Hi, my name is Russell. My name is Russell, and I come from Hancock, Maine. And it's been a really great pleasure to be on this year's Peace Walk again. I love them. When we think of war, we think of preparation for war and the victims of war, we oftentimes think only of the human victims. But war has many victims, including our Mother Earth, the environment. The military has a huge impact on climate change. The Pentagon is the world's single largest entity of carbon pollution and other forms of pollution, chemical pollution, et cetera. One of those forms of pollution is noise pollution, and it takes several forms, but one of them is sonar, naval sonar. And this sonar blasts extremely loud noise into the oceans. And those oceans, as we all know, have many creatures living in them. And it's having a very serious impact on those creatures. If you do work in the sonar field, it can be very technical. But basically, we don't need to be scientists to understand the basic fact that when you blast this extremely loud noise into the oceans, it affects the creatures that are living there. Some of those creatures are the whales and dolphins, who I personally have a deep love of. And it really hurts me to know that our militarism is causing so much destruction. These ships that are being built over here are called destroyers, and that is the right name for them. It's one of the few times the military actually speaks honestly, because that is what they do. They destroy. And so I just want us all to think about that as another very good reason why we need to convert Bath Iron Works away from military production and into something that will actually help us survive the coming times. Thank you.
Thank you, Russell. And now I have the distinct pleasure to introduce our friend Joyak Gol. Joyak Gol comes to us from South Korea. He lives on Jeju Island in Gangjang Village. He is a better spokesperson for the story than I am. So Joyak Gol will speak for maybe 10 minutes and then play some music again for us. Joyak Gol, are you here? Yes. Thank you. He's coming to us in his hot pink outfit representing hot pink dolphins.
The island that I live in, the Jeju Island, South Korea, used to have many dolphins before the construction of the Jeju Naval Base. The Jeju Naval Base site used to be the dolphins' playground, their habitat. Now they are gone. So I wear this pink outfit to represent the voice of the endangered dolphins. My friends back in Korea asked me, and I said to them, "Oh, next week I'm going to the US." They said, "Why would you want to go to the country where they are getting ready to attack Korea?" The Korea that American people know is, I don't know, but it's a peaceful country, and all the people there have been living under constant military threats, but in spite of that, they want to continue their peaceful life. And that's why people have been resisting the militarism and militarization of the peninsula, including the new Navy base and the deployment of US-made THAAD missile system. Right now, the war exercises is going on. 40 battleships are participating in this gigantic military drill in Korean waters. 10 of them are Korean warships, and 30 of them are from the US. The one huge aircraft carrier, USS Ronald Reagan, has 80 warplanes on our deck. Most countries cannot even afford 70 or 80 warplanes. So Korean people see America as arms dealers, weapon sellers, soldiers, bombers. That's the America that Korean people see. Is it real America? I want to ask you, do you want to attack Korea? Nobody I know of. Who are they? The people at the Pentagon, the people at the White House, the people at General Dynamics, the decision makers, the so-called important figures, the war-making companies. They are the people who want to attack Korea. So when I go back, I will let Korean people know that America is not about sending troops. America is not about threatening Korea. I've met so many wonderful, great people during the Peace Walk. And I know that they have been working constantly to make this beautiful world a better place for peace. And in that sense, we are one. Korean people are working hard to live in a peaceful world, and that is what you are doing. So thank you, everyone, for making this crazy world into a more humane, livable place. Let me sing a song. 나는 강정 간다. 수많은 파도를 헤치며 깨어진 구름비가 울고 있는 강정 마을 간다. 해마다 보았던 그 모습 그대로는 아니지만 지느러미 근육 키우며 놀던 구렁이 앞바다 나도 강정 간다. 수많은 파도를 가르며 깨어진 사람들이 울고 있는 강정 마을 간다. 보았던 그 모습 그대로는 아니지만 지느러미 근육 키우며 놀던 구렁이 앞바다 나도 강정 간다. 수많은 파도를 가르며 깨어진 사람들이 울고 있는 강정 마을 간다. 깨어진 구름비가 울고 있는 강정 바당 간다. 강정 바당 간다. Thank you very much.
We've been working John real hard this week. Thank you very much, John Morris. All right, so now I'd like to introduce Regis Tremblay. Regis has been a friend for quite a while now and is a filmmaker. He's coming straight off the operation table, has a brand new knee, and he's also the maker of a couple of important films in our community. One is called The Ghosts of Jeju. Here's Regis.
You know, I spent most of April and May touring the country, 25 cities with my recent film. It's entitled 30 Seconds to Midnight. It's a takeoff on the doomsday clock. And it really poses three imminent threats, and only three imminent threats to life on the planet. The human existence, plant existence, and animal existence. That's nuclear Armageddon. We're closer to that now than ever before. I'm sure you're aware of that. Nuclear power that is not safe. There's no safe place to store this for tens of thousands of years. And finally, climate change. And not much is being said about climate change, but if the first two don't do away with life on the planet, Mother Nature will. So as I toured the country, screening this film, people at the end say, this is such a depressing message. You're telling us that human existence, humans could go extinct in the next 15, 20, 25 years. And I really believe that. And they said, we're feeling overpowered, we're feeling overwhelmed, we're feeling helpless. And many people say they're feeling depressed. And so what I've had to do is come up with something that I can live with myself and that I can tell other people. And basically it's this. If we don't have much time left, and if you happen to believe that we are man and we're from dust, and from dust we will return, and we really understood that deeply, would it make any difference in how we lived our lives? And I think it should. And so I've come to believe and to share with people this message. Do no harm. Be the best person that you can possibly be. Keep your loved ones and friends close, and know that we have walked in a long line of wonderful, incredible people in this human experience, taking the high moral ground. I think if we could do that, we could at least live with ourselves. And the last thing is the antidote for depression, according to Edward Abbey, was activity. Activity like we're all involved in today. Activity is the antidote, the only antidote for depression. Because if we don't do anything, we're helpless, we're depressed, we're overwhelmed, and life is not very pretty. So what I say to people, if you're standing on a corner with a sign 1 day a week, can you do it 2 days a week? If you're writing 10 letters a week, can you write 20? If you're making 10 phone calls, can you make 10 more? And if you can come out for a peace walk, like's been happening here in Maine, even for 1 day or 2 days, can you do it 1 day more? And that's my message, of I think what a life well lived could be. And my film is titled 30 Seconds to Midnight. I think I might have been a little too conservative, but it should be a wake-up call for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Regis. The next person I'm going to introduce is someone who lives the sage advice that Regis offered. There's always one more thing to do. Susanna. Susanna Hedrick asked to speak.
I want to be very brief. In today's Kennebec Journal, on the business page, it said that the United States was facing an $888 billion budget, $80 billion as of this year, and I'm sure that's what the increase in the military budget that both Collins and Collins voted for. The second article in today's Kennebec Journal was about the Cumberland County Republican Committee meeting to oppose question 2 on our upcoming ballot, because increasing health care to thousands of Maine citizens would be very bad for the state of Maine. A third item that I read this week is about cost overruns by Raytheon on its smart bombs. Cost overruns. The military never has cost overruns. And the fourth point I want to make is, what in hell are special forces doing in Niger?
Nothing like a few pertinent questions to keep us thinking. Brown Leatham is a Quaker, has been a nonviolent presence on this planet, I think, since the day he was born. He also happens to be a housemate, so he wants to speak as well.
As one of the Zoom Walk 12, I want to put in a plug for doing civil disobedience, because I met the best people through my jail time, and I'm still learning to appreciate some of them in depth. John Morris, Russ, of course Bruce, and Cynthia. They're all coming to mind as wonderful, wonderful experience of my life, and not only those on the Zumwalt 12, but in the Bath Police Department. We were very much appreciated their handling and their appreciation of what we were doing. They felt we were expressing the conscience of the community. That was wonderful to hear. So I'm here to encourage more civil disobedience, because I think that's what it's going to take. That's what we're hearing from people who have great insight into the political workings of this country. It's going to take millions of people to get out and do Standing Rock, do whatever we can do. And I guess what I want to say is my feelings here today is his banner over us is love. His banner over us is love, not hate, not war, not destruction, but love.
I'd now like to introduce Bob Klotz. Bob is a friend. He's an organizer for 350.org here in Maine. And he's a dear friend who kind of bridges the world of environmentalism with the peace activism that we engage. So we're grateful to have you here, Bob.
Thank you. I don't think I'm alone in the bridging realities, but I appreciate the opportunity to speak briefly. Please help me be brief today. Obviously, there's a lot to say. We all are challenged with the realities that we face that seems to have escalated and amplified beyond the absurd level. And for me, I look out and see the people here who are veterans of many forms, including many battles, including the environmental ones. I actually am employed as a physician assistant. I work in healthcare, and I work primarily in addiction. And I see that in our culture so much. I go to different meetings. We could go around, and I could start with, hi, I'm Bob. I'm a plastic addict, and we could just have a little 12-step meeting around that stuff right here. But those rooms need to be filled, and these spaces need to be filled. I honor all of us who are here, but we need to grow this movement, and I appreciate, and really, the thing I emphasize so often is gratitude. I'm so thankful for those of you who have put together this walk, who continue this struggle, and continue to work with all of us to try to grow this. And that certainly has been my experience with the 350. Again, 350 being an organization that is trying to speak to the realities of climate change, the scientifically proven realities of climate change, and the connection to this movement, to this walk, to this issue is undeniable. There's so many lovely images here today. The one that caught my eye is a rather simple sign in the back that says, have we reached a sustainable future yet? And it's sad that that continues to be the question. I work in healthcare, again, in this culture that is not very sustainable. It is not dedicated to the kind of discussion that goes on with this group here of let's prevent this. Let's be sensible about the decisions we make. Let's think ahead beyond the short term into what is really possible. And for me, that intersection between healthcare and the environment and the violent, destructive nature of war and the environment, undeniable. And I really appreciate, with 350 Maine having been supportive of this walk for the last couple of years, and I personally being able to participate in it, never to the degree or the amount or the distance that I would really like. Just really grateful to be part of this, and so glad that people were able to come out today. But let's continue. My friend Regis, I could have made this very brief by saying what he said, because the do no harm message is critical, and the taking action step is critical. And how we find a way to do that together continues to challenge us, but it's a tremendous opportunity. You know, I wear this Hawaiian shirt a lot, and people think it's maybe some sort of joke about global warming, which it's not. It's about hope, and there's a longer story as to that. But it really, for me, is fundamentally that we have the choice to be oppressed and suppressed by the violence and the destruction, or we can make a different choice and commit to possibility and to moving forward. And I have to remember that every day. It's a pretty dark world in many regards, but I appreciate the commitment to possibility that becomes action. That's really very evident in this walk. So thank you all for coming out. Thank you for letting me have a chance to share my thoughts with you, and look forward to seeing you along the way. Thanks.
I didn't expect to speak. My voice is shaking, both because I'm nervous and because I've had such a profoundly moving time here that I really want people to understand that I'm so grateful to Bruce for giving me such a nourishing experience. I think I want you to know that on Monday morning, when standing vigiling at Bath Iron Works and it was dark, and I stood there as the sun came up and these iron workers were coming across the street with their lunch boxes, and all I said was good morning, and it was so simple. Good morning, sir. Could I give you a leaflet? Many of them would lift their eyes to me and smile. Most of them, every one of them, treated me with such respect and kindness. And it was just such a simple act, but it felt so nourishing and such a wonderful reminder that just in a simple way of kindness, is really the basis of what we need to disarm this world. And it was just, I'm going to carry that reminder hopefully home with me today and throughout the next year, and to remember that. And I want to thank all the people who joined me in standing out there and making that possible. So thank you.
Thanks, Ridgely. Your honesty is beautiful. Will Griffin, one more comment.
All right, so I have created something called the Peace Report, and it's mainly social media, and it's mainly videos, but I do articles and blogs and pictures and all kinds of things. Anything social media I try to do. And I created it about a year ago, and since then I've gotten through all my videos. I've had over 25 million views. I've got 100,000 followers on Facebook. And so there's an audience there, and people want to know about things that the mainstream media, the corporate media doesn't tell us, and intentionally leaves out. There's so many different things that's been going on for the past 16 years, and Americans are more fearful than ever before. And it's, you ever heard that, we're scared of something we don't know? Well, I think that's the main line here, and that's what I do with all my videos. So I try to explain things that many people may not know, that, when we went into Afghanistan this month, 16 years ago, was one terrorist organization out there. Today there's 20. In the past 16 years, more civilians have died than combatants. In the past 16 years, more veterans have committed suicide than died in a combat zone. We have 800 military bases around the world. Our military budget is still increasing. We're making more Aegis destroyers and Zumwalts, and we're sending missile defense systems to Korea and Romania and Poland and Okinawa and Guam. We're doing special operations in Africa, all over the continent, all over the world. Over 100 special operations a day around the world. These are things we don't usually hear, we don't usually talk about. But that's what the Peace Report is here to do, to highlight those parts. But also to highlight what's going on in places like Bath, Maine with this Maine Peace Walk. I made a video about less than a week ago and it's already got 10,000 views, and it highlighted us in front of the BIW workplace. And so there's people that want to know what's going on in Bath, Maine. They want to know what's going on in San Diego and Savannah, Georgia, where I live. What's going on at Standing Rock. Standing Rock's a great example of how social media can be used properly. So just check out thepeacereport.com, or even if you do an internet search, all my stuff will pop up because this had so many hits. So please check it out, share it if you can, and thank you.
So for those who came late, Will Griffin is a dear friend, and he's experienced the wars in both Iraq and Afghanistan. And so as Bruce talks about alternative media, I think it's important to understand that there are some strong veterans out there that have a perspective that isn't told in the mainstream media, and so the Peace Report is one. We've had such a marvelous week with Joy Goal, and we're losing him today. The veterans from Boston are taking him away from us for a speaking tour, but we are so grateful for all that he brought to us, especially his beautiful, amazing spirit. Thank you, Joy Goal.
Yeah. So there are 83 American military bases in South Korea. What the military bases do in South Korea is continuing this military tension. And so, they sell arms to Korea. South Korea is the number one arms importer from the US, the biggest arms importer. And we spend billions of dollars for arms and maintaining the troops, and this is not peace. This is not keeping us safe. So the last song that I want to sing is, what is peace? Peace is living in a world without fear or war. 공장에서 쫓겨난 노동자가 원직 복직하는 것이 평화. 두꺼비 맹꽁이 도롱뇽이 서식처 잃지 않는 것이 평화. 가고 싶은 곳을 장애인도 갈 수 있게 하는 것이 평화. 이 땅을 일궈온 농민들이 빼앗기지 않는 것이 평화. 성매매, 성폭력, 성차별도 더 이상 존재하지 않는 세상. 군대와 전쟁